first and foremost, there's this big debate about team needs versus best available. What is your stance on that? And is that a trend that sort of changes over time? And what are some examples of ways that door 1 works and doesn't work and door 2 works and doesn't work?
Yeah, really good question. I think the first thing you have to ask as a franchise is if player X in the draft is better, and he probably won't be better immediately. Obviously, these things take some time. But if he has a chance to be better than anybody on our roster, we should probably draft player X because we can move the other guys on the roster. If he's that good, if he has a chance to be a special, transcendent player. Now, there are some arguments the other way. I mean, one of the things that we get criticized for, and I certainly had some involvement with, was DeAndre Ayton with the number 1 pick in Phoenix. Thought process at the time, organizationally, right or wrong, and keep in mind I was fired the following preseason, so there may have been some disagreement, but was that we had a young backcourt star in Devin Booker, offensively gifted, struggled a little bit defensively and rebounding. He certainly improved in those areas, but the thought process was Devin in the backcourt, Ayton in the front court, Mikal Bridges, who we later acquired on the wing. People can nitpick, and they certainly have, about the Luka Doncic versus Ayton pick, and I understand that, and I take responsibility for that. Obviously, the Suns were in the finals a year ago and won 64 games, so that's why it's so hard, Tristan. That's what I think people on the fan side or even some of the media side don't realize as much. You are picking for a team. You're not just picking in a vacuum individually. And when people go back and do redrafts and things like that, the context and the roster at the time is important because, the reality is once we get in October and training camp starts, you have to hand the coach the ball and say, figure out how to play these guys and put together a functional team. So, generally speaking, it's the most talented player. You'd want that, but there is some context and nuance to that as well.